The 2023 Venza provides sensible Toyota virtues alongside a touch of Lexus quality to make a final product that leaves me a little confused. If you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. For 23, we got a couple nice additions. One, Toyota Safety Sense 2.5. Over the previous model, it is going to have much better pedestrian detection and intersection support. It also has the ability for emergency steering assist to work alongside the autonomous braking. It will also now pack Toyota's new infotainment system, which is a big step up from the previous one in my opinion. That will also join a new 12.3-inch driver display on the XLE onward, and now the LE trim will also get LED projector headlamps instead of the reflectors like the previous year. And the last change is a new trim, the Nightshade, which will make for a total of 4. That's going to be the LE, XLE, the Nightshade, which just adds dark accents to the XLE, and then the limited trim. Next to me, I actually have a base trim, though it doesn't really look the part. You have, again, standard LED headlights with a fancy LED daytime running light, but if you want an even better lighting experience, the XLE will add fog lights. Fortunately, all of these do have 8.2 inches of ground clearance, though Toyota's own spec sheets actually contradict one another. And that helps make for approach and departure angles that are identical to the Toyota RAV4. But no, that's the wild, adventurous one. Toyota really tried to make this thing sleek. In person, the side and rear look distinct and classy to me, something I rarely say about a Toyota. Outside of the droopy, oversized grille situation, I love it, but this is all just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I am happy to see a healthy amount of sidewall here. You'll have 18-inch alloys on the base and 19s on everything else. All of these are going to have Toyota's smart proxy key, and all except the base will have that on the rear doors as well. Surprisingly, a hands-free power liftgate is standard equipment on this thing, as is a almost full-width LED light bar. While a 360 view camera is standard on the Limited, the XLE will gain parking sensors. While Toyota did shoot themselves in the foot in a couple of areas, the cabin of the base Venza is actually a nice place to be. And if you're looking for a pleasant place to buy a car, let me recommend Royal South Toyota in Bloomington, Indiana, the attentive, community-focused dealership that let me test drive a Venza to make this video possible. Check them out and tell them thanks for me. Toyota is finally getting their tech right. Here in the LE, we're going to have a nice 8-inch touchscreen with a good resolution, respectable response time, and a very no fluff approach to a user interface, something I can see as a little divisive. It's also going to have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, along with a wireless charger on all models to accent that nicely. Step up to any other trim and you're going to have a bigger scaled up version of this. But unfortunately, if you go up to every other trim, you're going to get capacitive buttons for the HVAC controls down here, whereas here you're going to get physical buttons, and I think this is definitely superior. Almost a big reason for me to actually go and spend less money, though you will miss out on a couple features. One of those is the full virtual cockpit. Here we'll have 7-inch kind of integrated multi-function display. It's not really that configurable, but it hits the basics. One thing I think will be agreeable for most people are these seats. They're supportive, soft, and have just enough bolstering for the handling limits of the Venza. Additionally, all of them will have lumbar adjustment, which I very much appreciate. And I really enjoy how soft the elbow rests are. And there's a good degree of motion with the standard leather-wrapped, power-adjustable steering wheel. More luxury amenities are available too. Faux leather, Softex upholstery with heated front seats come on the XLE onward. A heated steering wheel and ventilated front seats come with the Limited. A head-up display is available there too, while those high specs can come with a 9-speaker JBL sound system with subwoofer. Due to the smaller cabin and good insulation, I found the stock 6-speaker setup to be reasonably clear at higher volumes with an adequate surround sound feel. It just lacks any punch. This seems like a car that's well tailored for the person that drives a lot on the highway. Panel fitment is pretty impressive, and everything feels like it's solidly built. And nothing is smack you in the face and steal your wallet kind of cheap, but there are some hard touch plastics in areas where I would prefer to not see them, most notably on your outside knee here. They did lightly pad the inside, but the center tunnel is just so wide that it kind of forces my knee to rest here. So even though they did kind of cover this in some sort of faux leather, I think it could be a nuisance for some people, especially if you're taller like me. Once you get past that, really most of the interior, especially up here, has soft touch materials with stitching that does look more upscale than you may think for the price tag. But the upscale details aren't executed to a Lexus degree. XLE and above do get wood grain accents and ambient lighting to spruce things up. Toyota also played with placement in the Venza. The odometer trip button made an absolute fool of my muscle memory half of the times that I went to turn the thing on or off. There's also the parking brake that is pushed in front of the shifter, which is odd, but kind of smart now that I think about it. Storage-wise, there's room to work with in the Toyota Venza, but if you open up the center console here, there are some kind of weird bits, like this. I don't know. I mean, it says don't put cups here. Like British royalty, there's also a portion of the console that looks like it should do something, yet I could find zero purpose. You also do have a big panoramic roof as an option, and it actually has the ability to frost over at the push of a button, kind of like a super high-end luxury car, which is a really cool touch. However, that will eat into headroom just a little bit, especially over here in the back. I do not have that, so I actually have plenty of space here. The front seat is in a comfortable position for myself, and I still have room to go on my knees. I have standard rear vents, standard USB ports, and an armrest. The back seats are comfortable enough, with support fit for a long journey. They are not heated in any trim, but do recline just a little bit, something that may disturb cargo area passengers. The cargo capacity of the Toyota Venza is certainly compromised for a vehicle of this length, though not completely disrespectful to your needs. It's a fairly long space, but just like a lot of luxury SUVs, the load floor is pretty high and it's not super wide. The RAV4 is just a lot more boxy and cavernous as a whole. There's also no levers back here to shoot down the rear seats. Overall, if you're seeking out a utilitarian SUV, I may point you more towards something like a Honda Passport. And the cabin itself comes off as moderately fresh and high quality, but it's not fully dedicated to an upscale experience. But almost all the drawbacks I've pointed out so far are alleviated in my mind whenever I take it out on the road. Under the hood, we're going to have the same powertrain in all Venzas. That is a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter paired up with 2 electric motors. This is going to make 219 horsepower overall and is going to return about 39 miles per gallon combined. I really have just about zero complaints with this powertrain, even when we consider the eCVT. A lot of people are scared about the latter half of that acronym, but this really doesn't share many mechanical similarities with a traditional continuously variable transmission. So this uses another electric motor separate from the 2 drive motors to change the gear ratios on the fly. This results in a very quick response. It also feels a little bit more linear, though to describe the feeling as natural would be a bit of a stretch, just because of the way the revs can pick up and drop almost immediately. Now, as I mentioned, you have 2 drive motors. That's because one is at the back. There's no actual drive line connecting the 2. That motor makes a peak of 54 ponies. So let's try out a quick acceleration test here in the rain. 0 to 60 is not what this car is about, but expect this to get there in the low to mid 7s. Off the line, having the direct drive setup with the rear motor makes for an energetic takeoff if that's what you want. And it's also something that should help you out in trying to keep yourself from getting stuck in inclement weather. But if you're considering going through some of the more tricky Forest Service roads or something, from most of the videos that I've watched, Toyota's hybrid and regular gas all-wheel drive setups just do not send enough power to the rears to get the job done. With more typical acceleration here, Venza fares quite nicely. The 4-cylinder engine does not exactly have a premium exhaust note, but this thing is well insulated, so that doesn't really creep into the cabin too much. And really, as a whole, this is a quiet car. Outside of the muffled groaning under acceleration, it's pretty subdued at highway speed, with wind and road noise akin to luxury midsizers. Passing power is enough, but if you're comparing this to something like a turbo Outback or turbo Mazda CX-5, you may find yourself a little disappointed. The power band does a good job of filling in the power band.
Have you ever had a dream that
The hybrid powertrain does a good job of filling in for the 2.5 liters inadequacies, but there's just not enough oomph to make it feel effortless. Driving the Venza over really uneven, broken pavement, this is phenomenal. I've driven almost every single Toyota product through this same exact road, and this may be the most comfortable. It is forgiving, but on top of that, it's smooth. I think that the steering also complements this quite nicely. This thing is remarkably controlled. And really, I was expecting body roll to be worse than this, finding this to be very confident. And the good thing is really it doesn't fall apart on smooth roads at higher speeds either. Admittedly, the steering is a bit numb, but as I go through these corners here, I find it to be nicely weighted, and even at lower speeds, it's definitely on the light side, but just reassuring enough. And there's not really this kind of vague floatiness on center that you get with some other numb, overboosted steering racks. It also manages to feel pretty direct, despite not having a super quick ratio, jostling the car mid-corner. It's really not falling apart. I think visibility in this thing is just okay, not exactly great, especially with these sort of sloping roofline. And that also does kind of allude to this thing feeling a little bit more compact than some of its competitors. One kind of interesting feature is their S mode, which stands for sequential, which is less for fun than it is to help when you're driving at elevation or just going down a large hill. You simply select the highest theoretical gear that the transmission can go into. In the past, most Toyota hybrids just gave you a lower ratio mode dubbed B. Thankfully, that's the only kind of engine braking these things are known for, as the Venza and the hybrid powertrain here have proven themselves to be quite reliable so far. A Toyota service department told me batteries last around 12 years, but they can go much longer depending on many variables. And I hope the newer lithium packs improve this. The Venza has been dependable so far, but a select few have reported a stalling problem and airbags that failed to deploy. Claims of inadequate low beams and turning signals, 12-volt battery draining, and the gas tank filling up short are not entirely uncommon either. There's other miscellaneous woes, but that's to be expected when looking at the first model year reports. Nothing seems too consistent except for the ludicrous amount of easily cracking windshield reports, something that is not cheap to repair these days. Regardless, if you highly prioritize a dependable vehicle, I would predict this to be among the best in the class. Time's gonna have to tell more. You actually do have blind spot monitoring as standard. You also still have adaptive cruise, lane assist, autonomous braking, all that stuff on every single level. Now, a couple drawbacks to this thing. One, the gas tank, kind of small. I mean, I guess with the gas mileage you should be getting, that's not a big issue, but 14 gallons is just not much to brag about. Also, after driving it a little bit, this protrusion on the center tunnel definitely does annoy me. One deal breaker for a select set of people is that the Venza is not rated for towing, really driving home the fact of how limited the utility part is of this SUV. Now, I did say the Venza confused me, and that's for both good and bad reasons. I think that compared to Toyota's other SUV lineup, there is a true luxury aspect to this thing on the road, but they hindered it in a couple of notable areas, mainly when it comes to the interior. It's nice, but not as plush or fancy looking as some competitors, despite the obvious goal here to be premium. It's also short on practicality. While the rear seat occupants do have plenty of wiggle room, the cargo area is basically behind about all mid-size midsize SUVs, and again, this thing is not rated for towing. I could knock it for its lack of engagement on the road and how it doesn't feel light on its feet, but I think I would be missing the point. The Venza seems to have a noble purpose. It tries to offer an authentic upscale driving experience in all aspects: comfort, noise, confidence, smooth power delivery, and so on. But crucially, do it with the running cost, passenger space, and price tag of a well-equipped small SUV. And they've succeeded. On top of that, the exterior looks distinct for the class, and with the LE's fairly similar cost to just a base all-wheel drive CR-V or XLE hybrid RAV4, I am puzzled as to how this hasn't gotten more of the spotlight. If you want to drive a luxury SUV that's just as easy to fund and live with as any other Toyota crossover, the Venza is a great answer, and just a couple steps away from a no-brainer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help me embarrass the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the bell for more, and follow me on Patreon for additional content. I'll catch you in the next one. Yet it's paired up with an interior that more appropriately reflects the interior. Okay, I'll leave it at that.